It's no secret that Electronic Arts has backed themselves into a bit of a corner with fans new and old by releasing games with a slew of different issues, from bugginess to brokenness to games that are nicely polished but don't amount to much more than a $60 slot machine with a Star Wars backdrop behind it. So with recent EA accomplishments being overshadowed by Mass Effect Andromeda's lack of quality control, the debacle of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the abrupt shutdown of Visceral Games, which still has many fans feeling completely dejected, EA's mainstream reputation is surely in a place that they don't want it to be. But for a company as large as Electronic Arts is, and with so many years of getting things right in its not too distant past and bringing us hundreds of timeless classics over the last several decades, they must still have something that they're doing right? Well, yeah, they do. Aside from the occasional AAA game that they do indeed get right, EA Originals is a program that is looking to help turn the tide and could very well be the company's best bet to do so. If you follow Electronic Arts releases, even poorly, you'll notice the slow but steady drip of great games making their way out of some really brilliant independent studios that are getting to take advantage of EA's promotional infrastructure, big budgets, and other resources without the downside that normally comes with that type of relationship of people micromanaging the developers and taking unreasonable amounts of profits created by the game. In fact, it's been reported multiple times that EA doesn't even profit from some of these games at all, which is kind of hard to believe given how monetary gain seems to be at the top of the priority list when you look at decisions that led to the status of Battlefront 2 and Andromeda at their respective launches. It's almost as if there's two entirely different philosophies at EA. The program itself is relatively new, being largely galvanized by the development of Unravel, which turned out to be quite a hit and made a lot of money for the developer Coldwood Interactive. This model worked for everybody, as EA did get the money back that they invested for marketing and some other development assistance, but that's all they needed, and Coldwood held on to the rest, which they could turn around and dump into future projects. All of this was working while improving EA's reputation by having a great game out there with EA's logo on it that people will associate with the publisher, taking mindshare away from some of the bigger blunders of the last few years. EA has doubled down on this style of helping smaller developers with Fee and A Way Out, both games that had their flaws but performed very well in sales and reviews, especially considering the minimal investment on EA's part and the size of the studios that produced them. It's not just the efficient way that EA is utilizing its deep pockets though. Arguably the best part of the system with EA Originals is the hands-off approach that seems to be taking hold here. Developers Zoink Games were working on Fee long before EA came along with their pitch to help the development and promotional process without taking profit from the sales. And it was a perfect match. The same thing for Hazelight's A Way Out, which obviously has its own philosophy with multiplayer and clearly didn't approach their concept the way a typical big budget EA game would. Everyone involved in these projects say the same thing, that EA isn't interfering with the game nor are they profiting, which only leaves one way that EA could be benefiting: a shift towards positive PR. Some uplifting news is exactly what EA needs. If this were a different publisher, I think I would still be looking for a hidden motivation somewhere else, but in this case, I think it's obvious that good PR is worth its weight in gold for EA at this point in time. And if they can generate it on the cheap while other developers make the great games, what's not to love? EA goes out and finds some small, hungry studios to make great games, EA gets their investment back and refuses to profit further, and boom, EA just got free goodwill for themselves for basically nothing. EA just generated goodwill and positive PR for themselves for basically free. It makes a lot of sense for everybody involved, and it looks like the arrangement will continue with upcoming releases like Sea of Solitude, which was arguably the best thing about EA's entire press conference for this year's E3, and has a lot of gamers interested and ready to spend money on it. With gigantic games like Anthem, Battlefield 5, and several sports games coming out relatively soon, this is a great thing for EA. They need as much goodwill as possible to make these future AAA projects, the things that really keep the lights on for everyone, really work out. Electronic Arts can't afford to screw these games up, and it looks like they really know that. They have gone out of their way to make sure everyone knows that invasive microtransactions and other forms of pay-to-win mechanics will be nowhere near any of these big games, and the smaller EA Originals are going to keep coming as well. The creation of EA Originals isn't just a story about cool games games getting the attention they deserve. It's really a story about a massive company turning themselves around by betting on their fans and the new talent in the developer community. And if that's not a winning recipe for the future for the publisher, I don't know what is. EA's got a lot to prove to win back gamers, and there's no doubt about that. But it looks like, at least at the moment, with EA Originals, they've got the right mindset and they're finally ready to do it.
And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.